Alright, so just to recap what we cover in today's live stream, starting with the dollar and in particular with the news that we had today. Right, so today we had the job openings, which was much lower than expected, and this can start to be a little bit of alert to what we can expect eventually for NFP. So this is one of the first news that comes out in terms of labor market in the US. Tomorrow we have ADP non-farm employment change, and then you have NFP on Friday. Tomorrow we're going to have also GDP in the US, so those are the two biggest catalysts that you can anticipate. We're going to have also news in Australia and CPI in Germany. So be aware of that in terms of looking for the opportunities that you can expect. Now, in terms of the dollar index, right? So this is something that we have been looking for. We mentioned that price didn't really manage to break this low, so we're looking for price to create new highs. I like the structure. I think the highs can be in place at this point, and tomorrow I'm going to be looking for price to start moving to the downside. We can have some reaction from here, but eventually I would like to see price breaking the structure and moving to the downside. There's a zone left behind in here that could be retested eventually, for example, for the NFP, or maybe tomorrow even before the move to the downside. So price is reacting from that level on the left side that we have been waiting for. So that's totally okay with it, and I do like that level. On the euro dollar, as you know, price actually respected really nicely this low. Price had already broken a structure to the upside, so we were a little bit more bullish on euro dollar. No need to break new lows. On the dollar index, we're still looking for price to create new highs. Everything played out as accordingly today, and it looks like it's creating a nice PA for price to move to the downside. Pound dollar didn't really move that much to the downside. It's just now creating new higher highs, which means that maybe the low is also in place. I'm just curious to see if the pound dollar is going to make that quick move down and up that maybe can create a new opportunity to look for longs. Then we have Aussie and New Zealand. And you can actually pay attention to the remaining of the Aussie pairs, because tomorrow we're going to have news in Australia, and Aussie dollar in particular is starting to, again, it's been moving to the downside in such a compression way that I'm looking for eventual price to turn. And when it does, I'm expecting a good move to the upside that can, again, provide a great opportunity to look for longs. I'm just waiting for the right moment. Let's see if that happens tomorrow with the news as well. Hopefully price is not going to move away and it's still going to be tradable at around the London Open. And the opposite for Euro Aussie, for example, or Pound Aussie. New Zealand is also at an interesting level where you can start looking for longs, or perhaps you can have one extra low before moving to the upside. Then we look at the yen pairs, and in this particular case, price is still a little bit within this range. It's still at the level that I have been looking for potentially for longs, and I wouldn't mind at all if we actually have a new low being created before price gaining momentum to the upside. We had our first slightly break to the upside. We could fake out this low, and then price eventually could go. We have this interesting trend line which eventually could be broken, and then price could move a little bit more to the upside, which means that we could have an extra high being created on dollar yen, euro yen, pound yen, and so on before a potentially move to the downside. And then you have the US indices. The S&P in this case just closed the gap over the weekend and is now approaching the highs, or kind of it can retest the highs a little bit. I like a little bit of the shape in terms of a ranging market, which eventually can create some liquidity above the highs. So we can even fake out the highs and then start looking for sales again, or a potentially breakout. We'll see. On the other side, you have Nasdaq, which is literally approaching the all-time highs all the way back from July, right? So we'll see. Again, as I mentioned, and pay attention to that in the bigger picture, this low didn't really manage to break that level. So we already talked about that a few weeks ago or last week, where there's a high probability that we may have actually a new higher high being created before any potential move to the downside, right? Because actually these lows, it didn't really manage to break structure. So just as a traditional move, eventually we're going to have new all-time highs in here. It's a nice approach to where price is moving. We may have a little bit of volatility in here, but I wouldn't be surprised if you do have new all-time highs on the Nasdaq. Dow Jones is still kind of within this range, and then you have the DAX, which reacted perfectly from the move that we talked about yesterday. So if you guys managed to catch that move, perfect. It was exactly as predicted, with liquidity above this top and price still reacting from that level that was fresh, and we have this engulf to the downside in here. So we'll see if price now continues to move to the downside. That's kind of what I'll be looking for. And then we have Bitcoin, which is, if not, okay, it retested the all-time highs, which is interesting, and we can continue eventually to see this one. We'll see if we're going to find some kind of resistance in here, but I'm expecting Bitcoin to actually break all-time highs. Ethereum is still a little bit lagging in that regard, so there's still a lot of room to the upside in here on Ethereum. When price may break these highs in here, we may have that breakout continuation setup on Ethereum. Can be a good opportunity to look for longs in that moment. What else? We have gold breaking all-time highs again, and then we have oil as well which is continues to move a little bit more to the downside. So we'll see if there's going to be still opportunity to look for longs. I still like the level. I'm going to still be looking for the confirmation to potentially look for longs in here. Just one last point is in regards to the dollar CAD and the CAD pairs as well. The dollar CAD is approaching that high. It's starting to show a little bit of weakness, and I think we are going to continue to have opportunities to look for trades in both directions on the intraday level. We may continue to create new all-time highs, but I think the intraday, I think we can continue to look for shorts the same way that if you are still bullish and you expect price eventually to, I don't know, to perhaps break these highs, we can look for longs as well. So that's basically what I'm going to be looking for. I think the highs on the dollar are in place now, and the lows are in place on euro dollar. So you can position yourself in that way and start looking for longs on euro dollar and perhaps the other dollar pairs as well. Indices, let's see how price behaves at around the highs. Oil, I'm going to continue to look for longs in there. So tomorrow in particular, I'm going to be looking for Aussie dollar if there's at a good level and Aussie pairs, New Zealand potential longs, euro and pound, depending on the pair that you have, look for longs as well, and oil is going to be on my radar, and potential shorts on the end pairs if you do have that extra leg that I just mentioned in here. So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you tomorrow again. If you are new, feel free to subscribe, feel free to join, feel free to share any trading ideas that you have for us to analyze the market together. With that being said, thank you very much, guys. We got it.